We are here to talk to you about our line of 24/7 intensive use chairs. So who is Concept Seating? Well, Concept Seating was a company that we began in 1991 as a vehicle seat manufacturer for squad cars. And at one point, we were the safest vehicle seat in the world. We actually had the ability to have somebody be rear impacted and withstand a 35 Gs of force. We actually had an officer in Minnesota, a state trooper, who was rear-ended on the side of a road at 65 miles an hour while his car was in park. And not only was that officer, did he live, he was able to return to work in about 3 or 4 days. In 1993, we introduced a line of pro copper communications consoles that went between the seats for the radios. And then in 1995, due to some requests from the dispatch community, who, because of our popularity of the vehicle seats, said, boy, it would be great if we had chairs for our dispatch centers that were as comfortable as these. And we introduced a line of 24/7 intensive use chairs at that time. In 1998, due to the popularity, or due to the changes in airbags and proprietary airbags, the market for vehicle seats started to dry up a little bit, and we started to primarily focus on 24/7 intensive use chairs, which is all we do today. And in 2012, we were actually purchased by another company, which is Lackey & Joyce Manufacturing. Lackey & Joyce has been in business in Wisconsin since 1854, and they make a series of other products for other people. We are Concept Seating is Lackey & Joy's only brand name product. So let's talk about what makes a 24/7 use chair a 24/7 use chair, or what is a 24/7 use chair. As dispatchers, you are well aware that if someone gets out of your chair, someone's normally getting in your chair. So it's shift work. It's much different than how a chair is used in a normal office setting, where someone goes to meetings or goes to lunch or has various things during the day, that they're not even sitting in that chair 8 hours a day. So what is expected of a 24/7 use chair then? In our mind, it has to be more durable, it has to be adjustable, and it has to be more ergonomic than your standard office chair. So that comes to, is 24/7 just a marketing term when it comes to chairs, or is it quantifiable, right? So in our experience, we find that many times when you encounter 24/7 intensive use chairs, it's a marketing term. We find many chair companies either add a little bit to their warranty. They may adjust a tilt mechanism to make it a little bit more robust. They might just add cost and add to the marketing, or add cost and add to the warranty term. But normally, we don't find that companies that make normal standard office chairs also make chairs for the 24/7 environment. So let's talk a little bit about testing that goes into standard office chairs and how that compares to normal or to intensive use chairs. So any normal standard office chair has to meet the ANSI BIFMA requirements. So what you see on your screen now is not something that you would see in a typical ANSI BIFMA test, which would be the ANSI BIFMA 5.1. In that type of test, weights are not used on the chairs themselves. So where you see the cyclical back test right here, there would be no weight in the chair. And in that particular case, it would be no weight at 25,000 cycles. In a 24/7 intensive use chair, which in 1971, the FAA created a test standard that was adopted by the US federal government, which is the NFEW 83-269E. They created an intensive use performance standard, and it was somewhat based on the 5.1 furniture standard that you see here, but it was much more stringent. This test has actually been surpassed because the US government didn't think that it was fair enough. Not enough companies could meet the standard, so they've dumbed it down, and I believe now it's called a 384, which doesn't really mean anything to us because we are still performing and testing to the more stringent standard. So the difference here would be this is 250 pounds, and instead of 25,000 cycles, it's 250,000 cycles. So performance standards, then, one of the results, if you build a chair that has to be that robust, one of the byproducts of that is weight capacity. So all of our chairs are warranted to 550 pounds, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be that comfortable in a chair that's 550 pounds. That's why we do have some different sizes. However, that being said, the ANSI BIFMA 5.1 is a bariatric standard. That is based on 350 pounds, and we've also tested to 30% beyond the bariatric standard. So we are the only chair company that we are aware of that tests not only to the highest performance standard, but combine that with a weight standard, or bariatric standard. And in addition to that, went 30% beyond both tests. So like I said, we just have not found any other company that can make that claim. Also, we tested to the FIRA standard, which is the United Kingdom standard, and that standard is very, very stringent. We've actually found this test to be more stringent than the FNEW, primarily, again, related to the armrest. In that particular test, they take 400 pounds on each armrest and cycle it through 400,000 cycles. That test was so stringent that the first time we did it, it actually ripped the chair apart in where the tilt mechanism is. So we had to make some adaptations or modifications, and then we eventually did pass that test. So can meet those type of performance standards. And primarily that is the components that we use. We designed our own 7-leg base that has dynamic load tests up to 10,000 pounds. So if you have somebody who's 400 or 500 pounds and when they plop into a chair, which larger people tend to do, that's not just 400 or 500 pounds that is being put into that chair. There's a dynamic load onto that. We have never had a base fail in the field. Our frames are strong. They're made from 10 gauge frame, 10 gauge steel. We use a safety about in a little bit, but those are rated to 165 pounds each. We have a cylinder that's specifically modified to our design, which is heavy duty, 450 newtons. We have a tilt mechanism that's made and specifically modified for our desires. We use nothing but extremely durable fabrics. There's what's called the Wiekenbeck test, which is a test where you have fabric that comes down, rubs once, rubs twice, and it removes. That's one test. All of our fabrics have a minimum of 1 million double rubs. Our Cordura fabric goes as high as 2 million double rubs. And we also use what we call an Ergo air suspension system, which we'll talk about in the next slide. But sometimes even it's the devil in the details. And in that particular case, even the hardware we pay attention to, and we use all grade A hardware for longer durability. So let's talk about the Ergo air suspension system. Most chairs that you see in the dispatch centers today, with the exception of maybe the Aeron chair from Herman Miller, is a substrate with foam on top, and foam does not dissipate weight. And you really need a dissipation of weight for not only for health reasons, for comfort, it keeps you more alert, but sitting for long periods of time is a health risk in itself. So if people who sit for long periods of time have poor circulation, which leads to different types of diseases. It can lead to compressed back issues, sometimes diabetes, heart conditions, a bad back. So having that weight distribution is really, really important. Foam does not distribute weight. So if you are constricting your weight in the lower extremity, especially when you're sitting in a chair, you have a constriction of the blood and the oxygen that's flowing through the tissues. If you are a large person, you have a lot of mass, and that mass being not dissipated compresses, and you have hot spots, what they say, which is where that blood and the oxygen is not flowing anymore. If you are a very thin person, you also have those type of hot spots, but you just have more acute pressure points. So it doesn't matter if you're big or small, weight distribution is extremely important. And again, that is for the spread of the oxygen and blood through your lower extremities. So right now, I'm going to bring on Ben Greger. He's one of our inside sales guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about the model 3142 high back. And just also stop for a second. Questions that you may have in the chat portion. So if you have any questions, you can either chat him and he'll relay them to me, or he'll answer you alone in the chat. All right. So this is a 3142. This is our flagship model chair. It was designed around the vehicle seat. As you can see, it still has pretty important in the vehicle seat for the police officers. It is our #1 selling chair in public safety. It has some features here. We have an adjustable lumbar support. We have a 5-position tilt lock, and this chair is also weighted to 500-pound capacity. So let's start from the bottom. We talked a little bit about safety caster. So what is a safety caster? A safety caster is a caster that doesn't roll freely unless someone is sitting in the chair. So again, when we brought this to our customers, we felt it was only for people who were, 350, 400 pounds. We didn't want them to feel the chair on the back of their legs and then have the chair roll away from them as they were getting in it and having them fall to the ground. Since doing that, we have realized that the importance for that type of product or feature can be beneficial to people of all sizes and shapes and heights and weights. We had somebody just talk to us about a year ago who was 170 pounds, maybe 5'9". He was answering an alarm. He felt the chair in the back of his legs. The chair started to roll away. He didn't realize it. He fell to the ground. He broke his elbow. He had 3 surgeries. It was a big mess. 7-leg base. Again, we talk about dynamic load testing. It's very strong, but the 7 legs also allows you freedom of movement, easier movement while you're sitting in the chair. Good for people because, one, our chairs are, because of the type of components that we have, our chairs are a little heavier than your typical office chair. Our chairs range between 75 and 85 pounds. And if you have 7 legs over 5 chairs, you got 20% ease of movement with that chair, plus the added stability of having 7 legs on a 28-inch frame. Then we go to the cylinder. Cylinders are shared in all of our chairs, again, specifically made for us. So how to operate this chair, and we're going to spin Ben around a little bit. He's going to show you. This chair goes up and down. There's a paddle. You flip the paddle, and it goes up or down, depending on how you flip the paddle. This chair will also lock into position. You can lock upright. You can put it back, lock it into place, or you can go freely if you prefer. This the armrest that we're showing on this particular chair is a swing arm. These arms will go up and down, and as Ben is going to demonstrate, they're going to fold out of the way. And then there's some thumb screws underneath that allow you to adjust the chair in and out, the arms in and out 2.5 inches on each side. And then on this particular arm, even the pads are moved fore and aft and in and out. If you want to spin around a little bit, see down here, there's the lumbar support. It's adjustable. It's an air pressure valve, blood pressure valve. So undo it, air comes out, tighten it, pump it to where you want, and it will hold. Our covers are replaceable. Good feature, not only if you have an issue 5 years down the line, you want to change the you want to change the color, or your fabric is wearing out, or you just are sick of it, you can just peel these off and put new covers on. Suspension, again, is the EAS suspension. And one thing I didn't really mention too well before was, if you have foam starts, not only does not dissipate weight, but it breaks down rapidly. Foam can break down 20%, and it starts the minute you start using it. Dynatrol doesn't break down once it's stretched to the proper length. We only lose 1% of its support capacity over 30,000 cycles. It doesn't lose another 1% for 1,000,000 cycles. So if you're using the chair for long periods of time, 24/7, the chair has basically the same support from day one, almost to whenever you stop using it. We do put a small piece of pillow top foam in the chair, so that it feels like you're sitting in the chair as opposed to on the chair. It's basically just cosmetic. It doesn't affect how your body is dissipating the weight. Good news is our covers are replaceable. So if the foam flattens out, you can just take the covers off. It's a very inexpensive replacement piece. You slip a new piece of foam in, and you basically have a new chair at for $10, $15. This chair has an optional neck roll. This is adjustable in height. It goes down further. If you don't want the chair to have the neck roll, you can just turn it around and hang it off the back. And in the time of COVID, we have also introduced to you some slip covers. And these are kind of a sport material that are very easily washable. A lot of times we've been having departments buy one of these per person. They can either take them home and wash them if that's the best option for them, or if the department does the washing themselves. But as you can see Ben demonstrate, this goes on in a relatively 30 seconds to a minute. And this type of product is available on all of our chairs, just based on what chair model it is. So that's the 3142. And again, that comes with different armrests, and we'll talk about some other options as we go along here. And then we're gonna move over to the next group of chairs, which would be the 3150 or the 3152. Both of these chairs are sold with or without a headrest. So it's either the 3150 Task or the 3150 HR, the 3152 Task or the 3152 HR. Those two model chairs are basically the same chairs, with the exception of the 3152 is 2 inches wider than the 3150. So we're going to go through some of the options on this because it's a little bit different than what you find in the 42. Unlike the 42, this chair has a split back. And when Ben would recline, he'll be reclining at a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning the back is going to go back at 2 degrees to the 1 degrees that you find on the bottom. So again, we'll start from the bottom and we'll kind of work our way up. The casters are basically the same casters that you find here on the 3142. We went over that. This particular chair has a half ring base. So if you've got some shorter people in the facility, it allows them to put their feet on another level. If they don't like it, the chair can just be spun around. It only goes halfway around the chair, gives somebody another resting point. That base is also available on the 3142. This chair locked in 5 positions. This chair actually locks in 7 positions. So again, it's a button at the end of the paddle. He pushes it in and locks it to where he wants. Again, there's a paddle on this chair. If you want to raise or lower the chair, paddle up or down. This one down here, this other lever is the tilt adjustment for tension. So you loosen or tighten depending on your comfort level. This chair also has a tension that we just didn't talk about much, but it's the same concept. This particular chair's back is also adjustable. Ben, if you want to move forward a little bit, it's adjustable, so you can adjust the height of the chair, goes all the way up, comes back down. The headrest, also adjustable. Neck roll position, headrest position, or if you don't want it, you can just fold it out of the way. The other side of this chair also has two controls. In this particular case, there's a paddle. That paddle is seat depth adjustment. He can go in and out. I believe that's 2.5 inches. And then there's a lock also at the end of this paddle, which will keep the back from coming all the way to the front position. So you can kind of see that. Now, if you unlock it, you can see that the back will come all the way up. And then you can lock it in the upright position if you want to sit straight up. These covers are also replaceable. The bottom, just like this chair, are Velcroed on. So it's called a one-time Velcro. It's not something you want to do every day for washing. It's mainly if something should happen or you have somebody throws up or has an accident. The back does need tools to get the back replacement. It's a cartridge. You remove the 4 screws, and there's some screws in the middle. You take the cartridge out, put the cover back on, and you're good to go. These arms are the other arms. These do not fold out of the way, but they also go up and down. And again, they have underneath the 2.5 inches of width adjustments based on the thumb screw. So we also offer, thank you, Ben. We also offer a line of 2-step stools. A lot of times you see that the 2-step their stools have a ring on the bottom. We find that that's not extremely ergonomic. The occupant is forced to sit with their feet under themselves. The base is out far enough that you can put your feet on the base, standard, in an ergonomic position. The base itself is very durable. A 400 or 500 pound person can stand on the steps and not worry about tipping over. You can get in on one side, sit into the chair, spin around so that you can rest your feet on the upper stool, or set it so that you have different levels of where you want to put your feet. A lot of times with stools, this chair happens to be purchased in the public safety world for the sit-to-stand desks. If you don't want to have to keep moving your desk up and down, the chair is basically at a raised height. You sit when you want to work and stand when you want to work. And you don't have to keep moving the desks. A lot of times when you have a chair at bar stool height, you have a very long cylinder. That can be very stressful on a cylinder. There's a leverage point when the cylinder is extended. So what we did was we made the base higher, and we're using our same cylinders that were found in all of our chairs in this as well. It's just raised to a different height. This chair is also available in glides as well as the other chairs that we have. Glides are available on all chairs. So we also offer a bariatric chair. The bariatric chair actually holds 800 pounds and was tested, I believe, to about 1,100 pounds. So, I'm sorry, I'm out of the picture. Okay. The bariatric chair does have a seat height adjustment, but it's not just moving a paddle and raising the chair up and down. This one has a jam nut. You adjust the jam nut on the bottom of the chair, and then when you want to adjust it, there's the ring down here. You spin the ring, it hits up to the jam nut and locks it into place. This has a adjustable tilt. It tilts in 3 positions, but it's something much like if you would be lifting weights. You pull out a pin, adjust it to where you want, put the pin back. Armrests are adjustable, but not by a button. Because of the 800-pound capacity, we use 2 grade 8 bolts. So if you want to adjust your chair up and down, or arms up and down on this one, you will need a tool. It does have same lumbar support. It can be purchased with or without a headrest. And there also is a seat depth adjustment, which works basically the same as the tilt. You take a plunger out, you adjust the seat, the depth that you want, and put it back into place. So let's talk a little bit about warranty, because a lot of times in the 24/7 world, we see a lot of different warranties. We see 10-year warranties and 12-year warranties, lifetime warranties, and usually the common factor between all those types of warranties is that covers defects in workmanship and materials. And in our mind, if a cylinder breaks in 4 years, that's not a defect in material. It's not a defect in workmanship. The product is gone, and you have to replace it, and you have to buy a new part. Our chairs do have a 6-year warranty, and they cover all product failures not caused by abuse. So in year 5, if a tilt goes, if a cylinder goes, we are replacing that product. We will even cover the freight on the product of the warranty cost for the first 2 years. So, how to purchase concept seating? Well, one, being in California, for your APCO, we are a CMOS provider. So we are on the California Multiple Award Schedule. It is based off the pricing of the GSA pricing schedule. So the pricing is the best that we offer to any type of client. So we are also on GSA Advantage. We are also on the New York State contract and the HGAC co-op purchasing agreement, which is the Houston-Galveston area contract, which I believe is now in almost every state. And then we have some dealers that have us on the Pennsylvania state contract and the New Jersey state contract. So that is basically the chairs in a nutshell. And I don't know if Jeff has got any questions. He hasn't related any to me. No questions. Okay. So again, my name is Joel Vento, and I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing. Jeff Greger is the Director of Sales. And then if you want to reach out to the people for our concept seating that handle the West Coast for us, it would be either Dana Hanford or Larry Weber, and their contact information is on the screen. So if there's no questions, I would imagine that kind of concludes our presentation.